What's up, Bulldog? All right, it's been a bit of a while here. All right, part of it's because I'm seeing some pretty good success on my new channel, my new secret channel. All right, so I'm doing the higher quality videos there, having a lot of fun. Also, spending a lot of time. Oh man, editing for like 20 hours for one video, so it's a lot of work, but it does make a difference, I think, because it just people are gonna stay longer because it's more entertaining. That's how it comes out. But I thought I would do a video today. I want to talk about some just I don't know exactly how to phrase this here, but the issue that I've been seeing with a lot of guys lately is that essentially they have a narrative, all right, a narrative that, again, I'm not going to use any of the keywords, the terminology, just because I just don't want the videos to get cataloged or whatever, with that stuff. But they have learned from people, all right, from people. I'll call them. I'll call them Rolo gang. I guess that's a safe way to call it, right? Not that I have anything against Rolo. I like him. Me and him have had some chats. Obviously, there's been some falling outs with with the whole Manosphere. I'll use that word, but the ridiculousness that is, man. I don't wonder how those guys are doing, but it's just crazy because these same talking points, these same narratives, they just keep on popping up, and I don't have as much of a problem with some of these talking points or viewpoints as I do with the parroting of them. Right? So original thought is important, right? Not to say that you can't gain knowledge and gain information from other people, but you do have to still think for yourself. And the problem is that when people, I'll say, get brainwashed, they sort of stop listening. They stop listening to other people. They don't really take in what's being said. They just look for what is their counter for this thing, or they get triggered by a lot of words because they think they know the answer. They think that they've heard someone already talk about this, and it's been a point of frustration for me, I suppose, because I'll give you an example, right? So I did some content. I did an interview, my wife and I, for this guy that had this TikTok channel and podcast and everything. And in that interview, I talked about a lot of really important concepts for men to understand, right? And man, when he posted those clips on TikTok, it was just all these guys just, oh, this guy's a simp, all the kind of usual stuff about this, and just women aren't responsible for anything. I can, whatever, and women cheat too, and and it's like, Am I talking to children here? Am I talking to actual men here? It doesn't seem like it. What's unfortunate and scary about this is that it seems to be it's gone mainstream, right? So the majority of men that I encounter now have these talking points in their head, and they believe these things, and they're not accurate. Even some decent stuff. I just saw a TikTok from this guy. Seemed like a pretty smart guy, pretty masculine guy, and he was talking about how when a guy gets married, a woman, what she'll do is, in order to make it so that other women don't want him, she will essentially emasculate him. Not necessarily in a disrespectful way, but will make it so that he has to stay home and take care of her all the time and shower her with attention. And I get it. I mean, he's right. He's right in the sense that a man has to be a man first. But it just came across in such a way that it lacks an understanding. And this is what I've been trying to teach a lot of guys out here. And it is also part of why I'm like so set on my calling of doing relationship coaching for men, is because I get it. Like, I've connected the dots. And I know some people think, no, John, just wait. You don't really get it. But it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Like, the thing is, I was married for almost 20 years, right? I was faithful for 17 years, let's say. But, if you know my story, yeah, I cheated on my ex-wife. There was some reasons why. You can't excuse those things, but at the same time, obviously I wasn't the best man in the relationship, clearly, but I was pretty good for most of the relationship. And what I was dealing with was what I felt like was a emotionally abusive situation, right? And I stayed there and I tried to make it work and I tried to figure it out. But the thing is with that is that I didn't really understand how things work. All right, I didn't really understand what it is like to be a man in a relation. Not to say that that would completely have changed the situation, but it would have changed it to a degree, right? And after that, when I started going out and dating and I started learning and started applying what I've learned over these years, right? I started to understand it. And then, obviously I'm remarried again, my wife, Nicole, and I have what I would call, our podcast is called Better Than Perfect podcast, right? Because we believe our relationship's better than perfect. And I know people say that, but I would say that that's what it is. Clear, honestly, and again, I have been in the other world. Okay. I have not only been married to a woman, okay, for a long time, but I've had a lot of friends. I have seen a lot of relationships. I've coached men for the last 10 years. So I know how it typically works. Now, I will say, Nicole and I have only been together for about three years and some change. All right, a little over 3 years. All right. That's not a huge amount of time. But I will tell you that we don't fight. I'm not saying that we've never had fights. I'm not saying that we don't ever have disagreements, but hardly ever. And when we do, there's no name calling. There's no screaming and yelling. There's a discussion. And really, as our relationship goes on, it gets better. There's even less of that. She's never called me a name one time. Never done anything purposely mean to me one time. Never said something completely disrespectful to me. Not even one time. Okay. Now, sex, it's good. It's really good. Okay. 3-4 times a week, as much as we can get it. I'm talking about craziest sex you've ever had in your life. All right. So this is 3 years in. Okay. And I'm just putting this into context for you. I don't want to share all my personal details, but hey, I think it's important because I'm trying to explain this to you so that you understand where I'm coming from. And maybe this is not for you. I don't know, but it's going to be for someone in your life, this video. And if you really get what I'm saying, you're going to get this. You understand why I'm saying all this. Okay. So sex is great. All right. Fantastic. Amazing. She's amazing. She treats me like a king, right? She does anything for me. Pleasant all the time. Never nags me. Just wants to spend time with me. Just wants to be kind to me. Treat me great. All right. That's all. She never yells. She doesn't even yell at, I've never even heard her. She's never yelled even one time at my daughter. Okay. When she's here with us, and again, I'm not saying that Nicole never did this before our relationship. You can ask people. She was not the same person. She did not act the same way. It is a relationship that has caused this. And part of this is because she knows what kind of man that I am in terms of what I'm willing to accept, but also a bigger part of it is how I treat her. And this is where I really want to get to with this, is where guys do not understand this. All right. I treat her like an absolute princess. I do romantic things for her. I take her places. I surprise her with things. I listen to her. When she has a problem, I don't try and solve it. I listen. I empathize with her emotions. All right. I always come at her as much as I can with love, not with judgment, not with condemnation. Again, I'm not perfect. All right. However, that is how I treat her. I treat her exceptionally well. And this is the response I get back. Now, there's another part to this, which is that I have a spine. I have a backbone. I don't tolerate disrespect. It doesn't happen, but I don't tolerate it, and that's known. It's known how I carry myself. It's known how I talk. I lead the relationship. I am the man in the relationship. She acknowledges that. She will say it publicly that I am the authority in the relationship. She submits to my authority. She wants to be on my ship. I'm the captain of the ship. Okay. Now, before I met Nicole, she was pretty much feminist. All right, not to the absolute extreme, but she certainly had those viewpoints. She definitely would never submit to a man or let a man be in charge. But what happened? What happened is that she met a real man. I'm not saying that to brag about myself, but I've earned that title because I've worked on myself. I've made a lot of mistakes in life, and I've learned a lot of things that have brought me to this point in life. I'm successful in business and life. I make good money. I have a great physique. I have learned Stoic philosophy and how to master my emotions. And I treat people really well in my life. I'm kind. Right? Not a nice guy, but a kind guy. There's a big difference. Right? And I'm smart. I know what I'm doing. I'm a good leader. I'm disciplined. And I have a backbone. I have a spine. I won't be walked on. I won't be mistreated. I won't just back down to keep the peace. I say what needs to be said. But I do it in the right way. And the reason why I'm saying all this stuff is because I want you to really understand that this narrative that you're getting about women, about relationships, about how men should be, it's not correct. It's not. The guy, if you look at the guys that are giving you this, I want you to look at their lives. I want you to look at their relationships. And I want you to ask yourself, do you really want to be like one of these guys? Are these guys really that successful? Are these really guys that you want to emulate? Are these guys that you really respect and look up to? And you'd say, yeah, this guy's the man. Now, yeah, I'm not saying that every guy out there saying some of this stuff, that they don't have any reputable qualities. Of course they do. I'm friends with some of them. I've been friends with some of them, right? However, they probably don't have what I have, because not very many people in this world do. This is exactly what I have always wanted in terms of relationship. This is the mythical unicorn that I believed existed, but everyone said did not exist. And so I eventually got discouraged. But here it is. Right? You can have this, guys. You don't have to make a choice between the two. You can have an amazing relationship. You can have an amazing woman in your life. You can treat her amazingly. You can tell her how much that you love her. You can treat her in that way, and you can still have amazing sex. And you can still have her respect you and not disrespect you. But you still have to be the man, and you have to have a backbone, and you have to assume leadership and responsibility for the relationship. Guys don't like it when I say you're responsible for the relationship. I'm responsible for all of this shit. I'm responsible for this house. I'm responsible for the money. I'm responsible for everyone's health and well-being. I'm responsible for the health of the relationship. If Nicole's doing something wrong, I'm going to tell her in the right way, and I'm going to correct that. If there's something going wrong in the relationship, I'm going to examine myself and see what I'm doing wrong. I'm not trying to do stuff just to make her happy wife, happy life. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do stuff that I believe is the right and best way for our relationship and for this family and this house to succeed. There's books we read that I pick, that we read together. There's books I ask her to read. But do you understand what it means to lead? Can you see how that's not simping? Can you see that the problem that so many guys that are espousing these kind of viewpoints and stuff, the problem that they have is this, all right, is that they don't really get it. They get pieces of it. They understand it. They've learned ways to operate. Again, I'll pick on Casey Zander. I don't know why I keep on picking on him, because he's smart and because he has a lot of wisdom and a lot of what he says is accurate, but he's missing a bigger picture because he's a young guy. He hasn't been through it all. He doesn't quite get it yet. He hasn't been in serious long-term relationships at this point. It's great. Be a stud. Enjoy the money and the girls and all the and stuff. That's fine. It's great. Okay. I'm not a hater. All right. But if you look at kind of his viewpoint, if you watch some of his videos, which again, he's got good videos, but it's all about this kind of tactics. It's all about this kind of game to play. And again, it is a game. Okay. Don't get me wrong. It is a game, but what's missing, and I've said this before, I've done videos where I've talked about this before, is understanding the piece that of what women really, really want, right? There's this psychology of women, of what attracts them. But I've talked about this at different levels, right? I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but essentially at the lowest level, when you're operating at the low levels, you're operating in more of a manipulative zone. What you're operating from is a validation point where women are trying to gain validation from you. And if you give it to them, then they're not going to like you anymore because you're taking the validation away. But operating at that level leaves you in a place where you feel empty because you can't express your love. And believe me, you do want to express your love. You do. Because you want to love and be loved. That is what everybody wants. And what guys like that don't understand is that what women really want. Women really want a man. They want the alpha man, but they want him to only have eyes for her. What does that mean? It means that they want the strong masculine man that is not going to be disrespected, that is not a nice guy. But they want that guy to be to treat them like a princess, not like a queen, like a princess. And that's what women really want. They want to have a depth of intimacy, a depth of love. They want to experience that. But they don't want to just experience that with any guy. They want a guy that is worthy of that. And so what happens is that guys get a little bit of this. They get a little piece of this. They understand some parts of it, and then it doesn't work out because it has to be a perfect conjunction. There's so much that's involved in being a man, especially a man in a relationship, that when guys screw up, they look for answers. And sometimes the easiest thing to do is to blame women and say this is the nature of women and all these things. And there is some truth to the nature of women. But, for example, many guys will be too nice. It's a common thing, right? You fall in love with a girl, you start treating her super, super nice. You start buying her gifts and doing stuff for her, and you're like, okay, honey, how can you're basically falling over backwards to you're whatever she wants you're doing. You're doing all these things for her, right? Thinking that she will appreciate that. And what does she do back? She acts like a bitch. She disrespects you. But the problem is, it's not that you're being kind. It's not that you're doing stuff for her, that you're treating her well. The problem is that you're letting her get away with disrespecting you. The problem is the reason why you're doing the stuff in order to get her to like you, in order to win her approval, instead of out of a spirit of gratitude, instead of just a giving free spirit, a kindness. You're doing nice guy stuff instead of kind guy stuff. And so what's going to happen when you do that? Well, it's real simple. She is going to disrespect you. She is going to walk all over. She is going to lose attraction for you because it's not attractive, because she feels like she could run this ship, because she feels like you don't respect yourself. So how is she going to respect you? It's not attractive. She loses it. And so what happens then? These guys go out into the world and they preach. They preach a message. They're like, never buy a woman flowers. They're like, never treat a woman like a princess. Never, ever tell a woman how you feel. Don't express your emotions to women. I did a podcast episode where on the Better Than Perfect podcast, where I'm saying it's not about not expressing your emotions. It's how you do it. I can tell my wife, I can say, hey, I'm really fucking angry. Damn it, motherfuckers. I had a bad day at work and this stupid bitch ass, right? And I'm expressing my anger like a 3-year-old. Or I can say, yeah, I didn't, this guy at work, he really pissed me off today. This happened and I handled the situation, but it really ticked me off this guy did this, right? Okay. Do you see the difference? It's still anger. I'm still angry. Again, I don't need to be angry, but I'm just using it as an example. Can you see the difference? So it's not that you can't express your emotions. It's not that you can't have emotions. It's that you can't even tell a girl how much you love her or like her. It's why you're doing it, and it's how you're doing it. But you can see that when guys get burned from this, then they start preaching this message. Okay. And so they're like, this is how I don't get burned by women anymore. I act like this. I treat them like, like a second class citizen. I don't really like pay special attention to them. Just ignore them or, whatever, or whatever. I got more important things to do. All right. I don't tolerate any disrespect. That part they got right. I don't give them gifts or anything like that. All right. And I certainly don't tell them how I feel about anything. I don't express any kind of emotions with them. And then they get good results. Women are more attracted to them, or they don't lose attraction for them. And then what ends up happening inevitably is this guy tries it. He's like, well, okay. I mean, this girl is totally into me. I'll tell her about this. I'll tell her about how much I like her, whatever, he does something. He expresses emotions in some way, and then she leaves or she cheats on him, and he's like, "See, I knew it. See, you can't not even once. You can't even slip up once." And he's got the wrong idea, and he spread that message, and it's the wrong message, because he's missing some things. You understand? A lot of guys are missing it, and they're giving you an incomplete message. Some of it seems right because it is right. Because believe me, I was in the dating pickup world for many years and coaching and teaching that and living that. And I know what attracts. Are you kidding me? I know how to pick up a girl at a bar. However, that doesn't apply as much to the relationship. And when we start to think in the longer term of things, and we think about what we really actually want, there's no way around this. You actually have to be that man. You have to actually be that guy. All right? So it comes down to, I'm trying to think of the best way I can describe this to you. But what it really comes down to is using your brain and learning the skills that you need in order to really be your own man, to be a masculine man. All right, that means that you do have respect for yourself. That means that you do create a high esteem for yourself, so you don't need external validation. And when you're in that place, then everything that you're doing is coming from the right place, from your heart. It's a good thing. You're doing it not to get something. And when you operate like that and you have respect for yourself, you're going to have charisma. Women will love you. Men will like you. You will be the kind of man that people want to be like, that they enjoy being around. It's not an easy road. And if you mess it up, yeah, there's going to be consequences for that. But those consequences don't mean that you throw everything out. Right. And that's the thing is, like, again, like I said, the reason why I'm starting up doing relationship coaching is because there's so many things that so many guys just don't understand. They got it wrong. And there's so many guys that are preaching this wrong message out there on the internet. And it's just, it's sad. It's pathetic. You don't want to be one of those guys. You don't want to be one of those guys that complains about things. That's not an attractive trait. Nobody likes that. Use your own brain. Think about the message. Think about what's going on. Think about what makes sense. Don't just look at some statistics that have been repeated over and over again. You don't even verify those statistics yourself. Someone said it, and then someone else said it, and now it's a thing. It might not even be true. You know what I'm saying here? Okay, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. You got to stop it. And you might have tested it out and said, okay, well, yeah, it turned out to be. Again, it's because you don't have it quite right. When you get it quite right, when you do figure it out, it's going to work out. But you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to be the leader. You can't be complaining. You can't be whining. You can't be blaming other people. You can't be blaming women. You can't be blaming society. You have to step up and you have to take charge. That's the only way that you're actually going to have success here. And this isn't just about women. It's about being a man. I'm disappointed by so many of you guys that just listen to what someone else says and parrots it. That's not being a man. You might say, well, why should I listen to what you have to say? Because I am giving you logical reasons. Because I'm telling you to test this out for yourself. I'm telling you to figure out the way for yourself. I'm not hating on anyone. I'm not bagging on anyone. I'm not blaming anyone besides you. And that's not the popular message. See, I could go out there and tell you it's someone else's fault and not your fault, and then you're going to listen to that and you're going to be happy about it. But that's not the truth. The truth is it's you. It was me when I screwed up. It's me now. But I figured it out now. And I want to help you figure it out because it can be figured out. And once you do figure this out, your life will be so much easier. Because you're going to have to tackle this problem at some point. Believe me, I got people in my life who are a lot older than me who are still struggling with this shit. Still struggling with it. You will struggle with women your entire life. And I'm not just talking about getting them. I'm talking about keeping them, and I'm talking about being able to live with them. A woman can be a huge asset in your life. It can be everything that you ever wanted it to be. Believe me, I know. And again, some people might say, oh, it's only been 3-something years, John. We'll see you in 5. I already know. I'm not naive. I've been around the block. I'm 43 years old. I was married for 20 years before this. I've dated lots of women. Okay? I'm not naive. I've read hundreds and hundreds, thousands of books. I know I've been coaching guys for 10 years, over 10 years. I'm not naive. So what is it? Am I just crazy? Or maybe I did figure it out. Maybe I do have it somewhat figured out. Not to say that I know everything, but as far as relationships and as far as women, I figured it out pretty damn good. And I wasn't born with it. I had to learn it. I learned it the hard way. But that's what I'm trying to share with you. Because what's out there, believe me, are you applying what's out there? Are you applying the stuff that these guys are telling you on the internet? And is it working? It might be working to some degree. Maybe you're not getting your heart broken as much. Maybe you're getting a little bit more success with women. But are you actually getting what you really, really want? Probably not. But you can get it. But you have to play bigger. You have to play bigger than level 1. If you make women chase validation, as soon as you give it to them, they're going to be done with you. You have to be the guy. You have to be the man. All right, that's about all I got to say about this. I think it's gone on long enough. But I will say, if you want some help with this, if you're really serious about this, I'm going to open up a couple of slots for the relationship coaching before I officially put it out there. All right, so you can get a hold of me. You know how to do it. If you can't figure it out, I'm sure you'll find a way. All right. But I want you to be serious about this. And if you're not wanting to do coaching, that it's fine. But figure this shit out. You can figure it out. You must figure it out. And what's out there is not the correct information. So that's why I'm trying to create the correct information out there. Watch my podcast, the Better Than Perfect podcast with my wife. We talk about these things. We go into depth on these things. I am amazed with how many people get upset about these things and don't really get it. But that's why I created it. That's why I created the podcast. That's why I'm doing this, is because this is probably the single greatest thing that I've ever done in my life. The information I'm sharing with you now. Because it will affect your life dramatically, more than you can imagine. I'm telling you. Like, you don't have to believe me. But look, you have to ask the question, how did I get where I am? How did I get to the situation that I'm in? And I know I'm, beating a dead horse here, but I really want you to think about this. That's why I'm talking for so long here, right? You might be skeptical, but if what I'm saying is true, if the relationship that I am in now is what I say that it is, and believe me, I would not be putting Nicole all over my social media and making these statements that cannot be retracted very easily if I wasn't absolutely sure that that was the case. So think about it. Think about it. Right? I know it's easy to be bitter. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to blame other people and to have that victim mindset and not even think that you have the victim mindset. Just think that you know the facts and you understand things and other people are naive. You're naive. Because you just listened to someone and you didn't think for yourself. You might have experienced some of the things, and this is the problem, is that the things that you experience in life, they sort of backed up what this person was saying. And so you're like, oh yeah, that must be it. But it's not it. You didn't know, and he didn't know, and you're both stuck. And that's why you've related your experiences together and you feel like, oh, this must be it. Because you haven't found the right way yet. But it's not that complicated. Like I said, if you have a backbone, if you have respect for yourself, then you will never get into a situation where a woman disrespects you because you'll walk away. And if you treat a woman in the right way, and it's not what you think is the right way, okay? Because, again, that podcast that I was on, that interview, the guy was saying, well, what if it's that men don't, it's not that they don't want to do it, it's they don't know how. And I agree with him. That is that they don't know how. Because he said there's a lot of men that join my men's group and they're like, they get in a divorce situation, whatever it is, and they're like, I try to do everything for her. I thought I was doing all the right things. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And I would do whatever I need to do for her. And I believe that. I have seen that. I have done that myself. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand. Because it's not logical. Because women aren't illogical. They're illogical. They're emotional. And you have to understand the right way to treat and love a woman. And if you don't understand that, you're just going to keep on flailing. You're either going to get to a point where women don't like you. They lose attraction for you because you just are walked all over, or you're just too much of a nice guy, a pushover, and you're a chump. Or you're going to get into a situation where you just you just end up blowing everything up. You just end up never getting to the place that you want to be. But like I said, I want to help you. If you're interested, if this sounds like something that is appealing to you, like I said, get a hold of me. We'll talk. I might take on just a few people right now at this point until I do a bigger launch of the program. But stop the whining, stop the complaining. That I can give you. If you take one piece of advice from this video, that's a masculine trait: to not whine and not complain.